Shalom, shalom. As always, I want to start these videos by giving all glory, honor, and thanks to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son for this wisdom and knowledge. That is Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Harakah Kodash, as well as the salutations upon to the elders and apostles of GMS, Great Millstone, whom I've learned this truth under and have been laboring, helping younger brothers such as myself understand this 144% doctrine of the Bible. This video being titled as you can see by the pictures, Bird in a Cage. Okay, so I was just meditating on, doing some financial tasks, Lord willing, for the summer, get things in order. And Baruch 3:8, we are yet this day in our captivity where we're being subject to never-ending payments. All right, so I'm meditating on that, and all of a sudden this I listen to all types of music. This house song on my Spotify playlist popped up, and it's talking about like a caged bird. Basically, that's the title, and how in the hook is a Eve. She's saying she want to be free, and then it reminded me of this old school song that came out in 2000. Nelly Furtado, I believe she's of the Northern Kingdom. I'm like a bird, I want to fly away. I don't know where my home is. All right, and for anyone that's ever heard that song, okay. And then that also, as I started, preparing this video, reminded me of the comedian Cat Williams, and I'll attach the link to this. He does a brilliant symbolic comparison of a tiger in a zoo, and he's comparing that to Jake in America. And he said, if you don't know how that tiger in the zoo feel, you'll never basically know how it is to know how it feel to be Jake in Babylon the Great. All right, so let's get this one. Genesis 49 verse 9, starting with the head tribe Judah, the so-called Negroes. Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? All right, so Judah right now, we like old beaten down lion in this zoo. But we know Esau gonna rouse up Judah, and we seeing it start with Jacob's trouble with the persecution of the Northern Kingdom. Pretty soon that's gonna turn to the Southern Kingdom, and Lord willing, we're of that number, where that actually makes it out of this zoo, out of this hell, out of this cage, out of this captivity. Okay, and it also reminded me, just a lot of things come to mind in the spirit. The comedian Patrice O'Neal, the late comedian, he did this thing on like basically, hey, human resources, the grizzly bear's doing grizzly bear things. That's how it feel to be an Israelite man here in this captivity. Everything that we like and enjoy, Esau done weaponized to kill us. It's fucked up here. We that bird in a cage. We're that lion in chains, and this is not our rest. Micah 2 verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with the sword destruction. This is a polluted ass cage that we're trapped in. But Thawadi Yahweh Yahweh Shai, we know that this has an ending. And going back to that Nelly Furtado song, our people don't know where their home is. They don't know that they're the true Israelites of the Bible. They don't know that is actually where we came from, and we're going to return there upon the return of Yahweh Shai. Okay, we will, in the kingdom to come, all be back in the land. We going to be at home, because right now we've been scattered across all nations. Okay, so our people don't consider, they don't know where their home is. But Thawadi Yahweh Yahweh Shai for waking up a remnant of his people to our true heritage and history. Isaiah 1 verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider. Okay, so they don't consider, who they are, or think about it, or consider who the rest of these nations is, because they clearly ain't our friends. All right, these are those 17 heathen nations who all have played a role throughout history in each one of our captivities. But at the end, just like we that bird sitting rotting in this damn cage, this polluted, defiled cage, okay, it is for sure gonna come to the enemies of our nation as well. You can best believe that. Thus said the Holy Scriptures. And I also forgot to include this in my original recording. When you Google bird in a cage, it says A bird in a cage is an idiom and a common motif representing loss of freedom, confinement, or being trapped in a difficult situation. It can symbolize being restricted, whether physically or emotionally, and yearning for escape. The birds represent the spirit or soul, and the cage represents the limitations or obstacles that hold it back. And if that ain't the Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here in America, I don't know what is. And it says symbolism. The bird in a cage is a classic symbol of confinement and desire for liberty. And right now, I'm going to get this later in the video, going to Revelation, the 20th chapter. Esau has been liberated, as well as once he got in power, he liberated our women. Okay, we see all this madness and confusion going back to the serpent and Eve and the serpent, okay, in the garden. But the Lord is finna stomp all that out and set up a true kingdom of masculinity and order and of righteousness. Okay, none of this madness and confusion. And so we as those Israelites are looking to get loosened out of this cage of hell and darkness and wickedness. And this is what Esau fears is us waking up, remembering who we are, as well is shining that spotlight on who he is, because that's especially Amalek. You wish people, they like to move in like the serpent they is, in secrecy and in the dark and in the trenches. They like to slither around, but us revealing them is bringing a quicker into his kingdom and revealing who he is, that vagabond devil that the Bible spoke of. That's why pretty soon he's going to come down with great wrath, as well as start persecuting the men of the Lord, the prophets, to sweep the streets, so this truth don't come out. Revelation 11 verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahweh entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And I always remember the story. I believe it's Apostle Gabar said on I believe it was an Amalekite or definitely an Edomite pulled up on them at one of their camps in New York City and was like, how did you guys get this information? We've been trying years to hide this. We've been trying decades, centuries to hide this. How'd you guys get that info? See, that's that great fear of the Israelites waking up, the men of Israel in particular, waking up to who we are. That's Esau knowing that his time is coming to an end. And now let's just, on the spirit of being that bird locked in a cage, which is messed up. That's how we are as a nation right now. We locked in a dark cage, but we know that the Lord is about to free us. We're seeing all the signs. We're seeing World War III about to pop up. It looks like Israel just hit up Iran. All right, so it's I believe Luke 21, look up, and when all these things begin to pass, our redemption draweth nigh. All right, that's what we're truly seeking for. But right now, going back to Baruch 3 verse 8, we are still yet this day in our captivity, and let's get some precepts just highlighting us being in that cage, that captivity. Amos 7 verse 17. Therefore, thus said the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. Okay, there it is, polluted land again, going back to Micah 2 and 10. This is not our rest, and in our land, where our true home is, we got bastards dwelling in Ashdod. It speaks on that, I believe. Let me make sure I don't misquote. I believe that's in Revelation. Speaking on you Amalekites. Oh no, Salaki. This is Zechariah 9:6. And a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. So we got these Amalekites as well as Ishmael over in our land, fighting over what's not even theirs, but it's all good. Everything is of the Lord. The goings of man are of the Lord, and he sets up kings. But we got an eternal kingdom that is being set up right before our eyes, starting with this truth and knowledge. Okay, Isaiah 42 verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth. for a spoil, and none saith restore. All right, that's why we need a savior. We need a redeemer. We need redemption. Okay, to drag us out of this prison. All of us are in some type of prison. It don't matter if you Tiger Woods or some Jake in the streets. It don't matter. You is one form of, we not escaping the curses as a nation. Okay, they are attached to us like tattoos. Okay, Baruch 4 verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Yahweh to wrath, ye were delivered unto your enemies. Okay, and just one more, just highlighting the us being under these actually the same chapter in this cage that's soon to end, and all of these other nations, these 17 heathen nations, have seen it. Okay, they were played a role in it. Baruch 4 verse 24. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. And I remember one time I went to go visit a friend back about 10 years ago, almost exactly, at a jail in downtown Houston. And it was literally all so-called blacks and Mexicans in there. And Houston's a very diverse city. You got so-called Arabs, so-called Chinese, so-called Japanese. You got all these so-called Africans, all these other nations, so-called whites in Texas and in Houston, Texas. But when you go to the prison, you go to the prison houses, who you see? Just our people sitting and locked up. And that's the spirit. And I'll never forget, because this elder right here, GMS Chicago Kingdom Come, this beloved elder right here, I'll never forget, he mentioned, since Esau liked to put everything in chains, everything in cages, that's where he's going. And it speaks on that in Revelation, the 20th chapter. This man is let loose out of his cage for a little bit, but his red ass is going straight back in there for a long, grueling 1,000 years to come. Revelation 20 at the top, and we'll go from up to verse 3 and then jump down to verse 7. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. That bottomless pit, talking about Europe. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. And we're in that season where he's been loosed, okay? Because we know that 1,000 years, that first 1,000 years of Esau being in his cage, in his pit, was the after the collapse of the Roman Empire, okay? And then that's why you have a Renaissance era where Esau began to rise back into power. Revelation 20 verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. All right, and going back to what this elder said, this man, he really, his destiny is to be in chains and in captivity. But since he done rose to power, he done put everything else in a damn cage. Okay, you go to a PetSmart or a Petco, you go to the zoo, you go through society. He puts everything in a cage. But that's where this man truly belongs, is up in his cage. And us as the children of Israel, we done had to drink that cup of sitting in captivity. How much more the devil, the enemy, a nation that is set up to be the enemy of the Most High. Imagine what their captivity gonna be. All right, and we will close off on these scriptures, because what he done did to us and the whole world, putting everyone and everything in chains and in cages, in particular the children of Israel, that's exactly where he's going. That's his judgment to come. Jeremiah 49 verse 12. For thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou who that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. That cup is referring to captivity, referring to slavery, referring to them curses, being in a lowest state, which we currently are. We in this cage, and we can't get out. That's why we're looking for a redeemer to let us out. because Esau is symbolically the cage. He's built his empire chiefly here, the United States, modern day Rome, modern day Egypt. It is built off the encaging, enslaving the Israelites. All right, but us getting freed from that cage is symbolic of the collapse of his empire. That's why he don't want us to leave, even though he tries all this. Let's say hypothetically we were all to go leave Babylon the Great America. He would then post up at the border and tell us, get back to work. You know, you can't leave. He really, he knows that this place would be nothing without Israel here. Just like the all these other kingdoms that collapsed after we left. Revelation 18 verse 6. Reward her as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath fulfilled, fill to her double. All right, we gonna give you a double shot, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai of that captivity. Okay, just like you done did to us, that is assuredly coming to you. You're starting with you Edomites, cause y'all done did the most. No nation has ran up the score of wickedness like you Edomites have. Revelation 13:10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience in the faith of the saints. All right, and that's, you know, patience is a very is a virtue, as they say in the world, and that's a key thing to have. But what allows us to be patient is looking at the warning signs and knowing that having faith that the Lord is going, the Heavenly Father is going to send our Redeemer Yahweh Shai back to loose us from this cage, loose us from these chains, loosen us from this captivity. All right, and free us, okay, out of this darkness, you know, this dark state of life. And even these bodies we're subject to sin and go off. We know the kingdom to come is going to be beautiful, and we're not going to have no fear of anyone, you know, taking what we have or going off against the Lord and in any type of wickedness. It's going to be a complete rest, righteousness, and peace to come. But in order to get to that, we got to watch this man's kingdom of wickedness and darkness and evil come to an end. Pursuing is, you know, 2nd Ezra 6 verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning that followeth. Okay, this is just you know, quick video through the spirit. It just sparked me, you know, of seeing these listening to these songs and seeing these birds in a cage, that I relate that to us as the nation of Israel. But that's coming to an end real soon. But Esau, yours is just beginning. Pursuing the Lamentations, the 4th chapter. I hope this was edifying. Shalom. Amos 7:17.